Oh, and it looks like we're on. How about those apples? We are on. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's almost December, which is insane. Oh, it says my chat's... Okay, my chat's connected. That's good. All right, good. Hopefully I see it. I do see it. Good. Hi, Red Economics. How are you? Good to see you. Good morning. Or good afternoon. Or good evening. I don't know what time it is where you're at. What's up, Karen? You're second today, Karen. You're usually first. But Red Economics beat you. Hello from the UK, so it's evening where you're at. By the way, I love my cat. My cat. Love her. Hello, Wesley. Live long and prosper. What's up, Roland? M. Oz, good to see you. Haven't seen you in a minute. Nearly 6 p.m. Yes. I remember that. I remember that time difference. I have a little 5 o'clock shadow. I didn't shave yesterday. I'm going to have to shave today at some point. But this is a morning show, you know. Hi, Pearl Center. Good to see you. What's up, Steve? What's up, Mystic Warrior? What's up, Roland, over on the East Coast? Or East, Northeast-ish. Right? It's got to be something like that. Joe Hickey, I love my ginger nightmare too. Is your cat a ginger? Sounds like you have an orange cat. What's up, Kaline Report? Hello up in Canada. We actually have some Canada news. I think you might have sent it even. It's from the Reddit. I tweeted some stuff out from the Reddit to show the Reddit some love. What's up, Susan? Back from Japan. How was your Thanksgiving? My Thanksgiving was wonderful, M.O.S. I had a great Thanksgiving. Yeah. I was cold. It was 20 degrees for some of my trip in Western Pennsylvania. Western New York, good to see ya. I bet it's cold up there, Wesley. Long Beach, what's going on, buddy? Good to see ya. I like your non-theistic approach. Thank you. I appreciate that. I don't acknowledge a theist, so I guess that makes me a non-theist. Some would say atheist, some would say agnostic, depending on how you arrange your terms. What's up, Dingo? Good to see ya. Thanks for saying y'all. I like it. And your Joe verifies that their cat is in fact a redhead. My cat's all black, and she is asleep over there on the couch. She's not. This show doesn't do it for her. She's not amused. She's like, you need more me. I'm the star of this show. Pull me back on. She wrote a fun dialogue today too, over on my Patreon. We are 2 people away from starting. We're at 28 according to my calculation. Once we hit 30, the show officially begins. And I have a fun topic for today. I think you guys are going to like it. It's a fun hump day topic. And it kind of falls into line with theory. Some of you guys are bringing theory in. It's theory, albeit a very light version of it. And we're there. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means you guys send me topics, you send me articles, you post them in our Reddit subsection, you tweet them to me. That's how we build the show. I'm waking up and I'm getting my news. I'm informing myself as a citizen. You guys are helping me do it. We're helping each other do it. And we get our news together. It kind of helps us navigate the craziness of this world of ours. That's what we do here. That's Get Your News On with Ron. First show like it. And it's a fun time. We're 7 months old. 7 months. I think we're doing pretty good for 7 months. We're still in diapers. We're still... Every time I get lost on a timeline and get confused, that's the equivalent of the show shitting itself. That's when the show shits in a diaper. Whenever I'm just like, oh shit, I'm sorry guys, and I'm scrolling through the timeline because we're doing all this in real time, I don't have any assistance, that's the equivalent. We just shit in our diaper again. Someday we won't shit in our diaper anymore. We'll be potty trained. Not there yet, but we're working on it. We're still a baby. 7 months. Anyway, guys, my topic for today, and I got a fun question. I think you guys are going to like this. We often overlook food in our politics. It's a real thing. It's a significant thing. Some of you might be looking at me weird now. You might be like, Ron, where the hell are you going with this? Hear me out. All right. Food in our politics has been going on for a very, very long time. It has a lot of history. Andrew Jackson, when he got into the White House, something he did that was unprecedented at the time. He had barbecue at the White House, at his, when he first got there, he had barbecue at the White House. Now that was unheard of at the time. You wanted to have something more elaborate, and barbecue at the time was considered something that was a very peasant thing to do. That was a very poor thing to do. It was an uncivilized thing to do, even, because if you trace barbecue back far enough, the history of barbecue in humanity, you can trace it back to the point where they were eating each other. You can trace it back to cannibalism. So, but when Andrew Jackson became president, barbecue was something people were doing. They weren't eating other people, but they were having barbecue. So he had it at the White House. At the time, that was a very culturally significant thing. People were like, whoa, what's the deal? But that was sort of his olive branch at saying, hey, I'm somebody of the people. And we're just talking about food here, so, regardless of whatever, regardless of his politics, we're sticking in the lane of food. That's why he did it. That, and presumably, the guy just enjoyed barbecue. And we see that up until today. Let's go to more recent history. Food or something food adjacent. When that Harvard teacher, that Harvard professor, was bothered by the police officer, bothered is putting it lightly, he was assaulted and harassed, what did Obama do to make peace with all them? He had a beer with the three of them. Or the two of them. Well, it was three, including Obama. They all had a beer together. And we all know what happened next. Police brutality ended. Just kidding. Sarcasm slide. And what do we see today? Mimosas. That means something. When you say mimosa, when you say brunch, that means something. That's kind of a critique of the limousine liberals. Donut Twitter. Donut Twitter. When we see donut Twitter, we know what that means. When we see that black donut, we know what that means. What's interesting about the black donut, where does that come from? It comes from when progressives weren't allowed into the DNC and they were giving donuts, which Nina Turner refused. So it's interesting there. The people that use the donut unironically, that aren't using it to mock the idea of it, that are using it in a serious nature, they're typically the people that defend the neoliberals, that defend the Democratic establishment, and if you don't like Hillary, you must be sexist. If you don't like Kamala Harris, you're a sexist and a racist. If you don't like Cory Booker, you're a racist. Bernie Sanders is a racist. Those are the people that typically peddle those types of narratives. Meanwhile, they have a donut avatar that is mocking a woman of color who was denied entry into an event, Nina Turner. So the donut is racist. That's the fun fact there. I know a lot of you already knew that, but little fun dose of irony and hypocrisy by the Mick resistance there. But anyway, so that's where we're at. So those are all just examples of food in our politics and the significance of how we use food to kind of subtly have political messages. Mitt Romney. I prefer hot dogs. Now, do you really think a guy as wealthy as Mitt Romney, if he could just have any meat product, he could? He wouldn't get Wagyu beef. He wouldn't get, a fancy filet mignon. He wouldn't get a roast turkey. He would go hot dog. He'd be like, you know what I want? I want a hot dog. And now, granted, you can do a lot with hot dogs. There are some hot dogs that are Whole30 approved. There are some hot dogs that are all natural. There are, of course, veggie hot dogs. But let's go ahead and assume that Mitt Romney was just going with your typical, we don't know what actually is in it. It is meat, sort of. It is food, sort of. Hot dogs that you can buy at the typical grocery store. That's what Mitt Romney said. He likes hot dogs. Does anyone actually believe that's his favorite meat product? I don't, but why did he say that? Well, because he wants to be relatable to the hoi polloi. He said a few things that really incriminated himself with general people, right? The binder full of women, the 47% comment. Mitt Romney kind of made himself look like an elitist. Why? Because he is. He kind of made himself look like someone who can't relate to regular people, because he can't. So, given a situation where he can talk about food, oh man, I really like hot dogs. Sure you do, Mitt. Nobody's buying it. So my question for today, what is a type of unifying emblem food that we could use? What should be the food of progressives? What should be the food emblem that we take under our wing? I already have my answer because I've been thinking about this. Pizza. I know that's a pretty basic answer. It's a pretty easy answer, but pizza. So pizza, first of all, pizza is for everybody. And there's all kinds of different pizzas. And, the traditional pizza does have bread, does have cheese, which alienates a little bit of people. I understand that. Not everyone can have those things. But, of course, there's plenty of alternatives. There's gluten-free crust. There is cauliflower crust, which are actually quite good. There's dairy, there's vegan cheeses, cashew cheeses, all kinds of different cheeses. So pizza is an inclusive food. And let's be honest, it's delicious. I mean, come on. Nobody here doesn't like pizza. Pizza's amazing. It's absolutely incredible. So you got pizza. And pizza is divided into slices. Pizza is for everybody. It's a social food. Some of you guys are mentioning Pizzagate. That's not. No, that didn't come into my my point of reference. That's not. Yeah, I understand that point association could be a bad thing, but yeah, I guess you run the risk of people thinking that that's where you're going with it. That's not my intention, but there is that risk. Somehow you have to take pizza back from the Pizzagators. So some of you guys are saying pasta. Maybe. Well, all right. So let's compromise. What's the late night alternative food to pizza? Because I can understand how the Pizzagate reference could be a bad thing marketing wise. Well, not could be. Is a bad thing marketing. Is a bad thing. Period. So you don't want to be associated with that. Understandable. So if we don't go pizza, we'd have to go. My alternative would be tacos. Once again, all the things I just said about pizza, you can apply to tacos. Tacos, all inclusive. A lot of different cultures give their contribution to tacos. Right? You see all kinds of different style tacos. There's Asian style tacos. There's Tex-Mex tacos. There's Mexican. So tacos, and there is no taco gate, so we don't have to worry about being associated with some ridiculous conspiracy. So there is no taco gate, so we're safe there. I still think pizza would kind of be, but yeah, you would have those people that would try to make the connection, even though Pizzagate was a while ago. So you'd like to think people wouldn't make those connections or try to make those connections or use it to smear progressives, but I'm sure some people would. So to avoid that completely, tacos. Tacos. Tacos, all inclusive. Everybody loves tacos. And all the things I just said about pizza also apply to tacos. All inclusive, different cultures. So there you go. And it shows a pro-immigration stance. Tacos do. It shows an inclusive stance. It shows a stance of Pearl Center saying we can do taco pizza. Saying we're not going to let Pizzagate take pizza from us. And I think that's kind of fair. But I'd be willing to go tacos just because those are delicious too. Also, a lot of people overlook the importance of pretzels as such an underrated food. Now, hear me out on pretzels. Pretzels, great snack. I love pretzels. It's my favorite snack, admittedly. I come from the land of pretzels, Pennsylvania, so it makes sense. But pretzels are a fantastic snack. Also, great side dish. Hot pretzels, great side dish. They can be enjoyed in a savory manner. They can be enjoyed with a dipping sauce of your choice. They can also be enjoyed sweet. Sweet. You can have sweet pretzels, cinnamon pretzels. You can do that. Sugar pretzels. Garlic Parmesan pretzels. You can have them soft or hard. You can have them hot or cold. Also, pretzels in a lot of different desserts. A lot of Jell-O cakes. A lot of gelatin dishes. They have pretzels as the base, and it is quite delicious. Where else do pretzels serve a great role? Well, pressed sandwiches. Do you ever have pretzel buns instead of regular buns? They freaking rule. Pretzel buns are awesome. I love them. I freaking love pretzel buns. So I think pretzels are something else. We need to own the pretzel. That needs to be an avatar. I think it is already, and I'm not sure what it means because I'm not good with those things. I know about the donuts, I know about the roses, and that's about all I know. A lot of the other ones, like when people have the kitchen knives, I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means. When I see that, I don't have anything on my Twitter. I just have my name, and yeah, that's all I got. So tacos, pretzels, and I understand you guys are skeptical of Pizzagate because you're worried that they would try to make the association, or you're worried about pizza because you're scared they'll try to say this is Pizzagate. Obviously, that's not my intention at all, but I can see how people would try to smear progressives using slices of pizza in that manner. So I'm going with tacos, and I'm going with pretzels. And then the other thing I thought of was basil fried rice. First of all, it's a dish that I've been working on for a long time. I'm very proud of my basil fried rice. Second of all, it's something that you can really put a lot of stuff in. It also is a mix of cultures, a little bit of Thais going on in there, a little bit of Italians going on in there. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. But anyway, let me see what you guys are saying. What should be the food avatars that progressives start using? Because as far as I know, we don't have any. But what? And don't just answer for progressives. What are some the right should be using too? The kind of elite left, the kind of democratic establishment, they use mimosas. They use the black donuts, which again, those are racist. If you're using it unironically, you're being racist. Some of you guys are saying tacos. Some of you guys are standing with tacos. Now, some of you guys are saying if we use pizza, that would be a way to mock Pizzagate. And I kind of like that too. The idea of taking it back. I do like that. Redneck Economics is saying bananas for the right. I don't understand the significance there, but that bums me out because I love bananas. I eat a banana every day. Robert brings up nachos, which would be a very cool thing contemporarily, because nachos right now, the people on Fox News, they're like, oh, pepper spray is no big deal. You can put it on nachos. Which, again, we talked about this yesterday. The next time some pundit says that on cable news, they should be forced to prove it in front of everybody on air. Oh, pepper spray's no, but it's a food item. Okay, prove it. Prove it. Prove it. If you have glasses, take them off. Take them off. Get the spray. Prove it to us. Smile through it. If it's a food item. Let's see. Joseph says McDonald's hamburgers should be the right's logo. I like that. I think fast food in general should be the right's logo because that is the equivalent of what they want to do in this country. They want to homogenize it. They want to give everybody less, and they want to rake in corporate profits and destroy the environment. So yeah, their slogan should just be like everything that's sold at Walmart should just be the food that they have, or fast food. And it's garbage. Fast food's garbage. Because their policies are bananas. Oh, I get it. Ha! I like that. Someone brought up Hot Pockets. And I gotta admit, man, Hot Pockets are so tasty. That takes me back to college. Garden Gnome says Spam. That's pretty good, too. Spam for the right. Again, something overly processed, something corporate, something gross. Some of you guys are asking about ice cream. I think ice cream, again, is an all-inclusive thing. What about just ice cream on top of a sweet pretzel? What if we went there? Now, that sounds delicious. And I don't think that's really been done. And, when it comes to food, I have a yes, we can attitude. I don't think we need to, just bow down to whatever typical things, we've become accustomed to. Let's see what other suggestions you guys have, and then we'll move on to something new. Apple pie, Edwin points out. We could reclaim the apple pie thing, but I'm thinking let's do something that hasn't been done before. Mike gives a shout out to banh mi sandwiches, which are damn delicious. Joseph points out that pretzels could divide us. My best friend and I have been fighting over whether or not pretzels are a food for the last 2 years. It's been a mess. Fair enough. Now, pretzels are my favorite snack. And by the way, just a quick aside, in 2016, there was a guy in Massachusetts that did do a pizza party, and it was just a joke saying how delicious pizza was, and the guy that did it was an actual right-winger. But so that has been done. So I'm not suggesting that a pizza party actually happened, but yeah. But I think we need some more food avatars in our politics. James gives a shout out to the avocado. That is a damn good one. And that's another example in our contemporary society that I didn't think of. Thank you for that, Joe. Avocados, when they say avocado toast, that has a certain attachment to it. That's kind of a way to bash millennials because, the millennials, they're so lazy and they can't afford anything, but they can afford their avocado toast. So that's a way to bash millennials. When you say avocados, that has a certain attachment to it. So good call. And if we took the avocado and used it, we'd be taking that away from them. Just an avocado. I like that. That should be the thing. So we got avocados, tacos, pizza, although we have to be careful because some people will try to say, oh, that's pizza gang. It's like, no. It's pizza in the social sense. It's divided into slices. Everyone gets some. It's social. It's for everybody. You can design the pizza how you want. In many ways, the pizza is the yes we can of food. The real yes we can of food, not the fake one. All right. And I think we'll end there because we got some pretty good examples. All right. Let's go to some real news. And here's what I want to start with today. This is political cowardice fury at Chuck Schumer for offering $1.6 billion for Trump's anti-immigrant agenda. There is one appropriate number of money, of dollars, that the Democrats should be offering Trump for the border wall. It's the same number that is appropriate to have of superdelegates. It is the same number that if you had a number to say how much electoral college should exist is the answer. It's the same number of how good of a leader Chuck Schumer is on a scale of 1 to 10. That number is 0. 0. That's the only appropriate number. But they're offering $1.6 billion anyway. After the midterms, they're offering $1.6 billion for his ridiculous wall idea, which, by the way, we don't know exactly how easy that wall is going to be to construct. We don't exactly know how much it's going to cost. The whole idea of a wall is just a racist disaster. It proves that Donald Trump wants to run this country as if he was an 8-year-old playing the Sims video game. Whenever you hear about the border wall, you should just instantly roll your eyes. That's the only appropriate response. But, going to the article, with the brutal consequences of Donald Trump's anti-immigrant agenda on full display after the U.S. border fired tear gas at asylum seekers in Mexico, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer sparked fury from progressives and immigrants' rights groups on Tuesday by telling reporters that he is perfectly willing to cede ground to the president's xenophobic policies and offer up $1.6 billion for, quote, border security. Man, isn't that putting a bow on a turd, isn't it? Border security. And there's people that still fall for this, by the way. We are for strong border security, Schumer declared because he was putting lipstick on a turd. I know the phrase is lipstick on a pig, but I don't think that's fair to pigs. It's lipstick on a turd. It's a bow on a turd. When asked if he would be willing to go higher than $1.6 billion, Schumer dodged the question, saying he doesn't want to negotiate through the media. While Schumer's office clarified that the $1.6 billion in funding he supports would not be for Trump's racist border wall, but rather for non-concrete fencing, and other ill-defined border security initiatives, critics expressed dismay that the top Senate Democrat is offering any funding for the president's anti-immigration agenda, particularly after the GOP was repudiated in the midterm elections. Oh, it's just going to be a fence. Nice try. Nice try, Chuck. Nice try. Nice try. That's Chuck Schumer's very feeble, sad attempt at trying to deflect the fact that he's actually, no pun intended, caving into the wall. That's basic. Democrats have some win in the midterms. What do? Give Trump what he wants. Good job, Chuck Schumer. Good job. There's one appropriate number. That number is $0. But they're willing to give $1.6 billion. Think of all the health care we could give people, $1.6 billion. Think of all the education we could fund with $1.6 billion. Think of an infrastructure program that we could initiate with $1.6 billion. Think of all the homeless people we could help with $1.6 billion. But instead it's going into a racist wall. And yes, the wall is a racist idea. Period. There's no other way around it. That is what it is. It is racist policy. All right. Now we're going to go up north. We started at our southern border in Mexico. Not actually in Mexico, but you know what I mean. So we're going to go out to our other border up in Canada. Corporate Canada will receive billions in new tax giveaways despite already getting billions through tax loopholes. Finance Minister Bill Monroe's fall economic statement shifts gears from the middle class to big business. Corporate Canada will receive $14 billion in new tax giveaways over the next 5 years, even though they are already receiving tens of billions of dollars every year through special tax loopholes. Why are they doing this? Let's find out. After spending the first half of his mandate talking about the middle class and those working hard to join it, and ending unfair tax breaks for the wealthy, Finance Minister Bill Monroe is now signaling a shift away from his government's focus on tax fairness. In his 2018 fall economic statement delivered Wednesday, Monroe announced new targeted business tax measures in response to corporate tax cuts passed by the U.S. President Donald Trump and the Republican-controlled Congress last year. Pointing to Trump's aggressive package of tax cuts for large corporations, Monroe notes that, quote, some have lobbied us to match those measures. Okay, so right here, whenever someone says some have lobbied us to match, they're talking about powerful special interests. Whenever someone uses that kind of language, like, oh, some would say this, now some say this, that means they don't really have a leg to stand on. So this guy knows he can't really defend this because this is just typical trickle-down economics, which has failed again and again and again and again at actually helping middle-class people and working people. Who does it help? The people at the top, the 1%. We know that. It's a proven failed theory. It is a scam. We know that. The world knows that. But neoliberalism is a worldwide disease, and now we're seeing some of it up in Canada, and they're trying to justify what we've done here in the United States. All right, let's go back to this puppy. Although Monroe opted against Trump's no-strings-attached approach in favor of targeted tax incentives that allow companies to write off the cost of investing in new machinery, clean energy equipment, and newly acquired assets, the new measures are not offset by closing any of the ineffective and unfair tax loopholes that cost Canada tens of billions of dollars each year. So there you go. Corporations already getting billions in tax breaks in Canada. Already getting billions. And they're going to get billions more. Why? Well, because Donald Trump did something in the U.S., we should do something similar because it'll help people get to the middle class. Because if we give the tax breaks to the corporations, they'll create jobs. Even though every single time we've done that, it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened. Here in the United States, I guess this guy doesn't realize, here in the United States, GM, a company that was bailed out not too long ago, that was just handed a check, that was bailed out by our government. Well, they didn't do anything for Main Street. Wall Street got taken care of. Main Street, not so much. GM is closing a bunch of plants, eliminating a ton of jobs. I think 14,000 was the number, something like that. They just got bailed out. They're doing that. It's like there's that meme with Paul Ryan that I think just tells it all. There's Paul Ryan saying, hey, we tried giving corporations a bunch of money and that didn't work, so we need to give them more money. And he has a straight face when he's doing it. And anybody with half a brain knows that that's ridiculous. That's a total lie. And maybe even Paul Ryan is waking up to it, because what has Paul Ryan done as a recent? Oh, he stepped down. But sadly, neoliberalism is a worldwide disease. Which brings us to our next article that people sent over. Something by Chris Hedges. Neoliberalism's Dark Path to Fascism. This is by Chris Hedges. Neoliberalism as economic theory was always an absurdity. It has as much validity as past ruling ideologies such as the divine right of kings and fascism's belief in Übermensch. None of its vaunted promises were even remotely possible, concentrating the wealth into the hands of the global oligarchic elite. 8 families now hold as much wealth as 50% of the world's population, while demolishing government controls and regulation always creates massive income inequality and monopoly power. You do not need to slog through the 577 pages of Thomas Piketty's Capital in the 21st Century to figure this out. As a ruling ideology, neoliberalism was a brilliant success. Starting in the 1970s, its Keynesian mainstream critics were pushed out of academia, state institutions, and financial organizations such as the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, and shut out of the media. Compliant courtiers and intellectual posers such as Milton Friedman were groomed in places such as the University of Chicago and given prominent platforms and lavish corporate funding. They disseminated the official mantra of the fringe, discredited economic theories popularized by Friedrich Hayek and the third-rate writer Ayn Rand. That's a little unfair. I think you could argue Ayn Rand is a 4th or 5th-rate writer. Once we knelt before the dictates of the marketplace and lifted government regulations, slashed taxes for the rich, permitted the flow of money across borders, destroyed unions, and signed trade deals that sent sweatshops to China, the world will be a happier, freer, and wealthier place. It was a con, but it worked. Those are powerful words and very true. And keep in mind, neoliberalism doesn't refer to liberal in the contemporary American political sense. A lot of people think that. They're wrong. Neoliberalism, when the liberal refers to the liberalizations of markets. Let's have no protections for workers. Let's have no restrictions on these corporations. so they can just run amok and there's no limit as to what they can do. Let's let the market dictate. It's a very right-wing thing. And it inevitably leads to fascism because power becomes concentrated and concentrated and concentrated in the hands of an elite few. Well, the middle class gets wiped out. We don't really have a middle class in the United States anymore. We don't have it. It doesn't exist. The middle class that's left are people getting ready to retire. The baby boomers are the only remaining middle class. Let's see if there's more to this, because this is a really good article. It's important to recognize the class origins of this project, which occurred in the 1970s. When the capitalist class was in a great deal of difficulty, workers were well organized and were beginning to push back, said David Harvey, the author of A Brief History of Neoliberalism. Like any ruling class, they needed ruling ideas. So the ruling ideas were that freedom of the market, privatization, entrepreneurialism of the South, individual liberty, and all the rest should be the ruling ideas of a new social order. And that was the order that got implemented in the 80s and 90s. As a political project, it was very savvy. It got a great deal of popular consent because it was talking about individual liberty and freedom, freedom of choice. These are all those buzzwords that we use in contemporary American politics that people fall for. People bite on that. Those are what you call, so there's a rhetorical term for that, and it's called God terms and devil terms. And it's exactly what it sounds like. God term is a term that you always associate with something very positive. If someone throws that buzzword at you, it's a good thing and you should be for it. Devil terms, the total opposite. Oppression, that's a devil term. Suppress, that's a devil term. You get the idea. What are some of the God terms in contemporary U.S. society that have been there for a lot of years? Freedom, liberty. Who can dispute liberty, freedom? How are you against innovation? That's a big one. Innovation. How often do you hear, when it comes to net neutrality, why does Ajit Pai say we shouldn't have net neutrality? Well, it'll lead to more innovation. What does that mean? Nothing. It means nothing. Innovation as far as how they can price gouge consumers, how they can screw over the way you connect to the internet. But that's a God term, innovation. So that's how neoliberalism rose. All right. Let's do a little more of this and then let's move on. So it got a great deal of dissent because it was talking about all these God terms that people like. But when they talked about freedom, it was freedom of the market. The neoliberal project said to the 68 generation, okay, you want liberty and freedom? That was what the student movement was all about. We're going to give it to you. But it's going to be freedom of the market. Let's let the market figure it all out. The con of neoliberalism, we're going to skip ahead a little bit. The con of neoliberalism is now widely understood across the political spectrum. It is harder and harder to hide its predatory nature, including its demand for huge public subsidies. Amazon, for example. This has forced the ruling elites to make alliances with right-wing demagogues who use the crude tactics of racism, Islamophobia, homophobia, bigotry, and misogyny to channel the public's growing rage and frustration away from the elites and towards the vulnerable. These demagogues accelerate the pillage by the global elites while at the same time promising to protect working men and women. Donald Trump's administration, for example, has abolished numerous regulations from greenhouse gas emissions to net neutrality and slashed taxes for the wealthiest individuals and corporations, wiping out an estimated $1.5 trillion in government revenue over the next decade, while embracing authoritarian language and forms of control. Neoliberalism generates little wealth. Rather, it redistributes it upward towards the hands of the ruling elite. So neoliberalism gave us Trump. Liberalizing the markets, having the ruling elite have unlimited power. And it leads to fascism. Why? Well, because then you need someone to blame. So scapegoating happens. And it leads to a demagogue like a Donald Trump. And of course, Chris Hedges explains it in very great detail. And certainly better than I could. That's a fantastic article. Thank you for sharing. Let me see here. We're scrolling again, by the way. So now's a good time. Shout out to our sponsor, ZT.com, ZHIT.com. Their tea kind of rules. Seriously, it's amazing. Check it out. All right, here's a net neutrality. We're going to go here from David. New research shows that post-net neutrality, internet providers are slowing down your streaming. Is this slow for anyone right now? Might be. Have you ever noticed web content performing poorly out of the view The view becomes shittier. Video footage becomes blurry. Web pages take longer to load. If so, your internet service provider might be slowing down your data on purpose. It's known as throttling, and it's a way for a provider to ease congested network traffic. But one type of network traffic, say video streaming, is throttled more than another. This is called differentiation. And according to David Schumer, assistant professor of computer and information science at Northeastern, differentiation is also what most people would refer to as a net neutrality violation. New net neutrality rules, born in 2015 and struck down 2 years later, were conceived to protect consumers' ability to access all online information equally during this short lifespan. All right, this is a little incomplete. We did not just have net neutrality for 2 years. And I know that, but yeah, you have to be careful here. And that's just my kind of nitpicking at the article. We always had assumed net neutrality. People were following those rules. Then the cable companies took the FCC to court saying they couldn't do it. So we got it officially on the books. All right, so anyway, Schumer and 2 Northeastern students developed an app that could track violations of net neutrality. Apple originally blocked the app, now called WeHe, from its app store, but after ensuing media coverage caused a sharp increase in the number of WeHe users, Schumer found himself with a wealth of data. This data is now the subject of new research, set to publish in early 2019. This is really interesting, but its findings are already available and making waves. All right, so what are they finding so far? They're all in on it. Working with the team from the University of Massachusetts Amherst, Schumer confirmed a sneaking suspicion. Nearly every U.S. cell provider is doing throttling. Using a previously established peer-reviewed technique, the team conducted more than 500,000 data traffic tests across 161 countries. From this data, the team found that internet service providers are giving a fixed amount of bandwidth, typically something in the range of 1.5 megabits, to video traffic, but they don't impose these limits on other network traffic. And because of differences in users' mobile data plans, ISPs are throttling one user's internet traffic but not the others. So they're doing it. Okay. All right, so here AT&T So what does this mean for me? If your data traffic is being throttled, you're bound to notice. It would be like watching a standard definition television. All right. However, due to variability in the apps themselves, no single experience is ubiquitous. Schaff says the content providers themselves can impose limits. Take the Netflix app, which defaults to low-quality video resolution. Unless they manually change the setting, most users, even without throttling, are going to see low-resolution video. However, the intention of the study was to test whether an internet service provider is giving better or worse performance to one's app's traffic versus another. This happens outside of a user's preference settings. So the WeHe app is something monitoring net neutrality violations. Now this is, it seems like this app so far, at least that's what they revealed so far, is limited to video content and streaming. And, you know, they're throttling that based on how much bandwidth they allow for it, but they're supposed to treat everything equal. So I hope this app really flourishes. I hope this app really flourishes and gets a handle on, and I hope they go as far as to find, I mean, you know, a lot of these companies they listed, and we didn't go through the graph one by one, but a lot of them, YouTube was one of the ones that was being throttled pretty heavily. Here, we can go, let's check out this graph again. And this is just to monitor differentiation. Oh, here, let me go back to it. So here's where they've sought differentiation. Look at all in YouTube's column. Now, there's less here. Why is there less here? Well, that's a corporate controlled entity. NBC has less because it's a corporate controlled entity. These guys have less. YouTube has more. Netflix has more. Now, Netflix is also fairly corporate too. Now, Skype, it's interesting Skype's so low. And I'm not sure why Skype, and, you know, I can't really explain that. Amazon. Well, we certainly know why Amazon's low. They're not going to mess with Amazon. But they will mess with YouTube. And they will mess with Netflix. One thing Netflix has done is they've been outspoken in favor of net neutrality. Comcast, not so much. NBC Sports. Amazon, not so much. So that's pretty telling. That's pretty telling that's what's happening already. And yes, we are fighting net neutrality in court, so we haven't seen any of the huge effects of it quite yet, but we have seen some. And there's probably more than we realize. It might not just be your connection if this stream is going slow for you. It might be because they're already throttling. Even though technically we're still fighting it in court, so technically they can't do that yet, technically. But net neutrality has been repealed. So the app, again, is called Weehi. I'm going to look more into it. I'm going to look more into this company because I think it's very important, especially with... Here, let me just Google it. Weehi app. All right, so let's check this app out. Why run Weehi? Have you ever wondered if your internet service provider is slowing down certain apps relative to others? Unfortunately, your mobile device and carriers currently give you little or no way to tell if this is the case. With Weehi, you can test this. What does Weehi do? Weehi uses your device to exchange internet traffic recorded from real popular apps like YouTube and Spotify, effectively making it look as if you are using those apps. As a result, if the ISP tries to slow down YouTube, Weehi would see the same behavior. We then send the same app's internet traffic. So they're detecting net neutrality, but it seems like this is limited to apps so far. So hopefully they're able to extend this into desktops and laptops and the works. So there you go. This is something else that's at least helping out with the fight in net neutrality. I'm going to look more into this. This is my first time hearing of Weehi. I'm not really familiar. You know, I'm learning about it for the first time, as I'm sure many of you are too. David, thank you for sharing this. This is important. And of course, when it comes to net neutrality and municipal broadband issues, you know that I have my own playlist for that over on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Ron Placone, which you obviously know about if you're watching this right now. There is a playlist dedicated to net neutrality and municipal broadband that's documenting my fight to bring net neutrality, not just mine, but the fight that I'm part of to bring municipal broadband to my community in Pasadena, California. We've talked to different politicians, we've talked to different activists and different people working in those fields, and it's still, on the mechanical end of thing, I am certainly still learning. We all are. And, throttling is a complex thing as far as how they actually get away with it. So if an app can kind of help us piece all that together, especially if you're like myself and you're not a tech expert, I'm not. I don't pretend to be. But I do understand why net neutrality is super important. This could be very helpful. So this will be in the playlist later, the clips from this portion of the show. And we're going to go full circle now. And then I'll go to the chat and see what you guys are saying. So today, we talked about food in politics and how food emblems are significant in politics. And it's been that way for a very, very long time. It's gone on for years. I even started with the example of Andrew Jackson. So here's something Long Beach shares to kind of have a callback to where we started. Speaking of food, we said that fast food is appropriate for the right because it's processed, homogenized, and not good for anybody. Poo found on every McDonald's touchscreen tested. Check this out. Traces of feces have been found on every single McDonald's touchscreen swabbed in an investigation by metro.co.uk. Samples were taken from the new machines that have been rolled out at restaurants across the country. Every one of them had coliforms. Senior lecturer in microbiology at London Metropolitan University, Dr. Paul Madawell, said, "We are all surprised about how much gut and fecal bacteria there was on the touchscreen machines. These cause the kind of infections people pick up at hospitals." Man, we really got to automate this so we can fire more workers, said the neoliberals. What does it cost? Well, it costs you have to touch shit whenever you go to one of those automatic screens. But otherwise, the price of your Big Mac might goes up. That's the bullshit they feed you. It's a lie. It's not true. When the price of gasoline goes up, the price of your Big Mac doesn't go up. When the price of some other factor happens, the price of your Big Mac doesn't go up. Why? Because they still need to sell them. They still need to sell them. They're not going to price the Big Mac out of these people. What if the Big Mac costs $20? That's bullshit. That's not going to happen. And if it did, it'd be a good thing because you shouldn't be eating those anyway. So if the Big Mac costs $20, good. Don't buy it. And I understand food deserts exist in this country, which is a crime. Though some people don't have a choice. I understand that. But, in most cases, nearly all, there's better alternatives out there. There's a lot you can do. You can join a crop share where you can work in exchange for food. In many cases, especially in even rural areas, have a lot of that. But anyway, I don't want to get off too sidetracked. But there you go. There's shit. Hey, not only are we going to take people's jobs, we're going to make you touch shit. At least, you're only dealing with your own shit. If someone didn't wash their hands good enough, they have shit on their hands. If they order food, the only shit they're touching is their own. They're handing their sandwich and it's like, oh, I'm eating some of my shit because I didn't wash good enough. But with the touchscreen, with an automation, shit hands Magoo touches the screen. Oh, now whoever's next, they get to touch shit hand Magoo's shit. And maybe they didn't wash their hands that great either. They're shit hand Magoo number 2, or should I say number deuce, and shit hands deuce, their shit's all over it now. Maybe there's a third person, maybe they're great at washing their hands. Person number 3, clean hands Magoo. Clean hands Magoo. They're even really neurotic about it. They do the sanitizer, just kind of make all their germs go around and round and kill some of them a little bit while dehydrating their hands. They do that, but they're touching shit twice. They're touching shit hands deuce and first shit hands, the original shit hands. Let's not forget to give a shout out to the original shit hands. You want a job? Tough. We'd rather make people touch shit. McDonald's. That should be their new slogan. Instead of billions and billions served, it should just say, we'd rather you touch shit than give people living wages. We care about you. Our mascot's a clown. And a purple guy. We don't even know what that dude is. He's just purple. No one knows. Then there's a girl. And then there's a guy that steals our shit. There's a hamburger. He steals our shit. I don't know. But we'd rather you touch shit than give people living wages. McDonald's. Let's go to the chat. And yes, fast food should be the emblem of the right. Jilly says, I never eat that shit. I enjoy the pun, and I actually don't either. I avoid fast food as much as I can. On the road, it's a little harder than not on the road. But I do try to avoid it as much as I can. Some things I'm a little more inclined to eat if I have to than others. Like I would eat if I'm at a stop and like my options are only fast food or fast food adjacent establishments. I will eat Subway, Chipotle I can do. The ones I can't do, McDonald's I can't do at all. I mean, I gave it up. So you guys know I was on the road. I lived in my car at one point. So I kind of was eating, you know, I wasn't eating great, but I really made an effort. I would travel with a cooler full of vegetables. I would preserve produce the best I could. I didn't have a permanent home, so it made it difficult. It was a roll of the dice whether the hotel the comedy club would give me would have a fridge or not. So it wasn't easy. But I did manage to completely boycott fast food for the most part. I mean, pizza, I would eat pizza because you guys know I love pizza. We talked about that earlier. But McDonald's, can't do. Wendy's, can't do. Arby's, can't do. What else? I mean, Taco Bell, can't do. I got sick off of Taco Bell about 10 years ago. Never did it again. Never will. And I actually get sick. The last time I ate fast food, so I pretty much gave it up at 2013. Because it was shortly after I had a really bad car accident. And shortly after that happened, I decided to really kind of, you know, try to take control of my life, if you will. And one of the things I did, I gave up fast food. And we were going to a concert. I want to say the year was 2014. It was like a year later. I had not had fast food in a year. And I had to, like, we had to stop. It was before this concert. We were running late. And everybody I was with was cool with Wendy's except me. I wasn't cool with Wendy's, but I had no choice. And I was like, all right, Wendy's is at least, I would say, better than McDonald's. I'll get something. So I got it, and I felt like I just swallowed salt water. Like I felt like, do you ever bottom out on a wave and you get a mouthful of salt water? That's how I felt. My stomach hurt. I felt gross throughout the entire show. So if you don't eat fast food for like a little while, if you eat it regularly and then you don't eat it for a while, when you eat it again, it will make you sick. Because there's so much salt in that stuff. Like so much salt. It will make you sick. All right, what else are you guys saying? A lot of you guys saying I haven't had fast food in years. Sinead saying haven't had fast food in years. Marcia hasn't eaten fast food since about 1972. Power to you, Marcia. Good job. A lot of you guys are echoing that Taco Bell is gross. It is the grossest of the gross. Taco Bell is the grossest of the gross. McDonald's isn't really much better, if any, though. I mean, that's, yeah. Red Economics, heading to my fast food job now. You got to do what you got to do. Have a good shift. Garden Gnome says there is almost always another option other than eating fast food. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't live in a food desert, so I'm trying not to, you know, come off as judgmental, because I do know that they are a real thing. It's a crime that they are a real thing in this country. They shouldn't exist, but they do. So, I'm trying not to be judgmental because I don't understand everyone's situation, and when you hear those, but, you hear these stories of people that, take multiple city buses and take 3-hour round trips to make sure their children have access to produce. It's horrible that they have to do that. But they do, because they know how important that is. And let's see, Mr. Broken Oz, super chat. Eat the Rich, ? It's a good Aerosmith tune. I know that. Wesley Walker says, priorities, Ron. I don't know what that means. It's probably in reference to something earlier, but thank you for the super chat contribution. All cheap filler for big profit. Boycott them all other than In-N-Out, Daniel says. I do not get In-N-Out. I think it is so... Last time I did have In-N-Out because sometimes if it's like a regional thing, I'll make an exception there. And it was gross. It was, everyone wanted it, and I was starving. It was a similar situation. So I guess my boycott is not as quite thorough as I would like it, because I was like, all right, fine, I'll have In-N-Out. And I really did not enjoy it. I didn't. I know people love it, but I don't get it. Zero Divisor says, In-N-Out is overrated. I agree. Smashburger Solidarity gives a shout out to. I've never had Smashburger, so I can't speak to that. I will say that if I have to pick one of those regional burger chains, which I think they're mildly better than a McDonald's, I would go Five Guys. I think Five Guys is at least the best tasting out of those. I mean, I try to avoid... If I want to get I'd rather just get a real burger. James says that In-N-Out's good if you're wasted. And as far as how the employees are treated, I don't know. I can't speak to that. I don't know. BS Jeffrey gives a shout out to Dick's in Seattle. I would say out of the regional fast food burgers places, that is the best. Dick's in Seattle is damn tasty. And I used to eat that when I lived in Seattle because I was just out of college and poor. So I ate horribly and then ballooned and gained 75 pounds. David gives a shout out. How anyone can watch Fast Food Nation or Food Inc. and then eat fast food is beyond me. I agree. I kind of feel that way for any restaurant, though. The idea of getting a peek under the hood at any restaurant scares me. That's why I'm glad I never worked in food, because I like going out to eat, and I'm worried if I really had a peek under the hood in any restaurant, I would never eat out again. I'd be so scared. I'd never eat out again. And I like eating out. Guys, sometimes a little bit of ignorance is bliss. You really gotta... Hector, my hometown is the birthplace of A&W. Where was that, by the way? I don't remember. But guys, we are completely out of time. Eat local. Shop local. Eat local. Do something good in your community, because that's the only way we're going to get out of this mess. And in the meantime, thank you for being here to help me stay sane. Some tour dates. Florida. Tickets are available now. Romplicone.com. New Orleans. Pensacola. Tickets are available now. Texas. Tickets are available now. Romplicone.com. Los Angeles. Tomorrow is my album release show. Come hang out. There's going to be free cake. It's going to be fun. It's 9:30 at Sycamore Tavern. Please come out. And if you can support this show on the sustainability end, please do over at patreon.com/Romplicone. For Give What You Can level, you get all kinds of exclusive content, including my album. My album's out for the patrons. You can get it anywhere. You can get it on Pandora. Well, you can check out my Pandora station, Spotify, iTunes has my album. It's Agnostic Holiday, my album, ontourrecords.com. Yeah, but, you know. Thank you guys for keeping me sane. We will be back tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's when we do this. And we'll be back then. I'll see you then. Until then, stay safe. Peace.